Personally, I've been working with companies for through the last 7 versions of Microsoft Office, going right back to 1995. And since the introduction of the fluid user interface in 2007, I've probably trained now thousands of end users in how to get the most out of their version of Microsoft Office. And I wanted to run this webinar with you just to share my experiences in how companies deal with the upgrade, what works and what doesn't, and also how you can best prepare for it. For those of you who already upgraded, you'll get to see how retrospectively you can go back to the business and look at improving working practices. So I want to talk to you about what's going to happen, the end user perspective on the changes that they're going to experience, how to best prepare, and I want to take the opportunity to show you some of the great new features, some of which came through in Office 2007, but I will show you some of the key ones from Office 2010 as well. Talk to you about the communication with your end users, both before the upgrade, during, and then how to keep them on side and help them develop within Office going into the future. And on that note, we'll be talking a little bit about what happens beyond the upgrade and what other things are available to you through the Microsoft Office. So what is going to happen? Well, I tend to want to look at this as an end user. What are the end users going to experience, and what do they expect from us going into a new version of Office? One of the key questions that they want asking is, why are we upgrading? What benefits are there to them or to the business in learning a whole new interface of Microsoft Office if they're coming up from Office 2003 and previous versions? What do they have to do to prepare? Do they need to do any archiving? Do they need to change the way that they're working? If you're upgrading the operating system as well with Windows 7, is there anything they need to do to prepare for that as well? How quickly can they carry on working with the things that they already do, or will they have to relearn those skills they already have? And that's a key concern amongst a lot of end users. Why did Microsoft make the changes to an interface which many people feel they were quite happy with and have been using for many years? And since you've got a whole new suite, what's new and what can they do with what's new? So this is a little screenshot of Office 2010. I'm sure you've seen it already, but that's what they're faced with when they first open it up. And some of the key questions that they're then going to ask, where is everything? If they were quite comfortable using Office 2003 and previous versions, are they going to be able to find those features again with the Office 2010 fluid user interface? The next question might then be, can I make some changes? Do I need to keep switching between the tabs? Can I add specific buttons that I want to use? In some instances, can I go back to using 2003? What happens when I open my old files? Why are they opening in compatibility mode? What effect is that having? And when I create new files, what format should I be saving them in? If I save it as a 2010 file, what happens if I send it to somebody who doesn't have Office 2010? Now, we might think they're fairly straightforward questions, but those are the very first things that will impact end users when they first start using the suite. Just as an example, Microsoft, when they first introduced this interface in 2007, they went out and they asked about 1,000 IT managers in the US to ascertain how long it took the average users in their organizations to get back to the same level of productivity they had prior to the upgrade. Now, this takes into account whether they did training or not, what support they gave. They may have been doing training, they may not. So this is across the whole board, the whole suite of the IT managers who have rolled out the new interface. And this is what they found. Now, 5% said that there was no change. Productivity stayed the same. People were quite happy using the new interface. There was no impact to the business at all. But then as you move along, you'll see that, okay, just under 50% said it only took 1 or 2 weeks for people to get back to their existing levels of productivity. The bars further along that chart is where it starts getting a little bit worrying. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Nearly 15% of IT managers said it took more than 4 weeks for their average end users to carry on with the existing levels of productivity they had. So that shows two things. Firstly, that the new interface does have an impact on productivity, but also it begs the question, what can we do to make sure that we are in the lower end of that chart and we're having as little impact as possible on the productivity within your organization? The question then really is, what do you want to do? When you roll out Office 2010, are you looking simply to minimize the productivity loss so that people will, roughly speaking, be able to try and work their way back to existing levels? Do you want to try and push out as much information as is needed to maintain existing productivity so people can carry on doing the stuff that they were doing before without any impact in time? Or do you want to make the upgrade count? Do you want to start thinking about how are we using Office? How can we increase the current productivity? How much information can we give our end users, not just to get used to the new interface, but really run with it? And then the next level is, can we smash our current productivity? If we have a look at how Office 2003 is being used, can we completely change the way people are working, or even just make some little changes to drastically streamline the way people are creating files and managing information within Office? In my experience, when I've run training courses, seminars and webinars on Office 2007 and 2010, I'm finding that where I can be talking about the new features, it becomes apparent that the vast majority of end users aren't aware of some of the best features that have been in Office for a very long time. So one of the questions you'll need to tackle quite early on really is, why is Office 2010 a good idea? Well, one of the things that's certainly true from my experience, it is more intuitive. It's easier to find things using the ribbon bars and the tabs than it was in 2003. If you're disagreeing with me, it's probably because you are a more advanced user. The more advanced the user you are within the old version of 2003 and earlier versions, actually the harder it is for you to find the features that you're used to because you weren't using those intuitively, you knew where they were. So those of us who are very experienced with Office, we find that in some ways we're penalized for the fact that we knew where they were in the previous version, we're struggling to find them in the new. Now, there are some specific tools that you can push out to your end users immediately to overcome that problem. The interface is fresh and new, it's less cluttered, you can't have things floating around your screen, getting in the way, you can't switch on toolbars when you don't need them. The output is significantly better. Many of our clients buy 2010 simply because what they can do with 2010 is significantly better looking than anything that they've been able to do with previous versions. But this last point, it sounds a little bit vague and a little bit marketing speak. They've tried to make it easier to create professional quality documents, and this is the key, I think, point that I want to start talking about now. I think Microsoft went out to the market, and when they analyzed the way people use Office, they realized that, as I said before, some of the best features that have been introduced into Office over the last 7 versions aren't being used because people can't find them in what was a vast interface in the old version. So many people have got used to the idea that if it takes them a day to write a report, it's natural for it then to take another 3 or 4 hours to format that report. If you have to bring in 3 or 4 PowerPoint presentations into one PowerPoint presentation, it's normal to take 4 or 5 hours to do that. Now that should never have been the case. Now what they've done with 2010 is they've enhanced some of these features so that you can standardize and brand documents, spreadsheets, presentations with 2 or 3 clicks and not spend hours formatting the presentations, the spreadsheets and the documents. So how can productivity be increased with 2010? Well, some of the questions I often ask to people is, what is wrong with how people currently use Office? In Word, do you format text using the formatting buttons? Do you reorganize documents primarily by copying and pasting text? Now, there is an argument to say that actually you shouldn't be doing either of those things in Word documents, and I'll talk to you why, or tell you why a little bit later on. In PowerPoint, the vast majority of people in my experience format individual slides, delete placeholders and add in text boxes and objects. because they feel that the standard layouts they're given aren't good enough for them. As soon as they start doing that, they are increasing the amount of time they're taking to create PowerPoint presentations, and they're losing the standards of the business. And in Excel, data strewn across multiple sheets or multiple books with multiple links that causes all sorts of issues. Weekly or monthly or quarterly reports that are statically created and littered with formulas. Now, there are some spreadsheets that need to be set up like that, but I'm finding more and more when I'm working with clients that they don't need to be creating formula-heavy spreadsheets or spreadsheets split across multiple sheets and books. That's all about analyzing the way people are currently working and showing them better ways of working. Some anecdotal evidence from me. When I talk to clients, I find that, for example, the majority of the people I speak to, they may have used pivot tables, but they don't know how to create them and they're not sure what they are. They're afraid of them because they've been too technical in previous versions. They don't have standard PowerPoint presentations in their organizations. Or if they do, the PowerPoint presentations simply have examples of slides for them to use rather than actual slide layouts that are interactive and easy to use. And when I talk to clients, I find that word styles are woefully underused. Quite a lot of end users ask me when they first start using Word 2010, why is it that a third to half of the home ribbon bar is taken up with the huge styles gallery? Well, there is a reason for that, and the reason is Microsoft is saying to us, if you're not using styles in Word, you must start. And again, if you're not that familiar with styles in Word, I want to show you how to use them, but I also want to show you some of the features in 2010 that again is encouraging us to use them more and more. Okay, so I want to share with you just a few of the new features within Office 2010. I'm going to jump out of PowerPoint now and switch into Word. Okay, so here I've got a Word document and it's formatted to be a proposal, for example. Now, one of the things I should be able to do is I should be able to instantly reformat that document in any way that I like. As long as my staff are trained and know how to use the simple style sets that were introduced in 2007, I should be able to go into the style set panel, change the style set for a different style set, and simply by choosing a different style set, completely reformat that document. So from a standardization point of view, I can make sure as a business that any report, any tender, any document going outside of the business is formatted correctly. And in using the style panel, your staff don't need to be messing around with the font and paragraph buttons. So styles have been around for a very long time. In 2007, they introduced the style pane to encourage people to use them more. In 2010, they've taken things a step further. There's a new feature on the View tab called the Navigation pane. If I switch the Navigation pane on, some of you might recognize this from Office 97. They introduced something called the Document Map, and the idea of the Document Map is when you've got a long document, you can use the Document Map to navigate through your document. And what it's done is it's picked up the main headings in my document because I'm using the heading styles built into my styles panel. Now, we could do that with Office 97. What they've added in 2010 is the ability now to restructure and reorganize this document simply by rearranging the headings. And as you can see, all of the subheadings, the pictures, the tables, the sections that are part of that main heading will move with me. So I'm able to write a document and then literally just by clicking and dragging the headings around, reorganize that document without using any cut and paste. You may also notice that I've built in automatic numbering within my document. I would recommend that multi-level numbering shouldn't be used unless you're using heading styles, because with heading styles, it just works. In my experience, talking to people trying to create long documents in Word, one of the biggest bugbears, one of the biggest headaches, and one of the biggest time wasters is trying to get multi-level numbering to work within a document. So as you can see, the navigation pane allows me to expand and collapse areas of my document, to restructure my document. I can even promote and demote headings within this task pane, within this navigation pane, and not only will it restructure the document, but it will reformat those headings as well. It's a very, very powerful tool, and simply put, if you're not using it and you do create longer documents, that is where you can be wasting a significant amount of time. While I'm in here, just to show off some of the other features that have been added in the last couple of versions, there's Quick Parts, for example, an extension of the old auto text, again, that's been around for a long time, but many people haven't used. The idea of Quick Parts is that I can have a gallery of standard items that I regularly drop into documents. Now, I can use this as an individual, but what I should do is, in an organization, set up a series of templates so that if somebody's creating a report or a tender or a proposal, they get the library of building blocks and quick parts they need to be able to construct a document. Once I've added in some quick parts, I can then very simply, on my Insert tab, choose a blank page, which adds an extra blank page to my document. On my References tab, I can insert a simple table of contents. There it is. And another feature added in 2007, I can brand a document. Many of the clients I've been working with will have, let's say, 5 different proposal templates because they've got 5 different areas of the business or 5 different sectors. What we do is we work with those clients to set up one template with multiple cover pages so that everybody is using the same report template or proposal template, and all they need to do is simply choose the cover page that matches the sector or the organization that they work in. And because you only have one cover page per document, documents can very easily then be rebranded whenever necessary. So there in Word, I wanted to show you navigation pane, which is brand new, but also show you some of the other features introduced in 2007, the style sets, being able to switch out style sets, and then also blank pages and cover pages. Okay, let's switch to Excel. With Excel 2010, it's all about presenting information more visually. Here's a pretty standard profit and loss type spreadsheet that would have been created in 2003, and somebody might then spend a lot of time formatting that spreadsheet in a certain way. Here's one I've done earlier, but this is using styles. There are styles within Excel, so again, you can standardize the spreadsheets that people are creating. Why format one sheet when you can format all 20 sheets in one go? In 2007, they also added the ability to add conditional formatting, so that whereas in 97 you could create some very basic conditional formatting rules, in this version I can get a visual representation of groups of figures without creating separate charts. So in this instance, if I wanted to see how our incomes compare to each other, I can choose the data bars feature added in Office 2007, and by clicking, it's giving me a visual representation of those figures compared to each other by turning the cells themselves into data bars. And in this column is a feature brand new to Office 2010. These are called spark lines. A spark line is a way of creating tiny charts within cells which will show you the figures on a particular row. So if you've got very granular data within Office 2010 and you need to see how each line of the business is changing, this gives you a snapshot view as to how the organization is working. So for example, if the license fees jumped up considerably in a particular year, I will see that impact the spark lines on the right hand side. Those are very useful for spreadsheets where formulas are the main component. The other element of Excel, which is becoming more and more popular with each version, is data. How are you storing your data? How are you analyzing your data? In Office 2007, they introduced the table feature. The table feature is a way of taking a set of data and turning it into a dynamic table, which allows you both to sort and filter the information, but also to extend the information. could add another 500,000 records to a data set, and any VLOOKUPs or pivot tables or charts based on that data will immediately update. If I look at the next tab, you'll see an example of a pivot table and a pivot chart. Pivot tables have been around for a decade at least. I remember them adding new features to pivot tables back in Office 2000. What they've done in 2007 is they've made it significantly easier for individuals to start creating pivot tables without feeling like they need to be advanced users of Excel. What I've done here is created a very simple little pivot table which is breaking down by month the amount of revenue that we've made as a business based on that data on the previous sheet. What they've added in 2010 is an extra level of interactivity. What I could now do is create a pivot table to distribute to each of my account managers, and by using the new slicer feature, which is what you can see here, it allows those account managers then to choose an individual stream of information. So if I were responsible, for example, for the Globetrotter product, simply by clicking the various options on my slicer, I can slice the information and see it redraw itself instantly for me. I can even use the control key and look at multiple streams of revenue from multiple products at the same time. And you can add in as many of these slicers as you deem necessary. So Excel is all about visualization of data, but also making it easier for individuals to slice and dice information and making it more accessible where you're creating panels or interfaces for other people. A couple of screenshots on Outlook. For me, the big new feature within Outlook 2010 is what's called the conversation view. We all know that in Outlook, it's all about the stream of information that comes into our inbox and what we do with that information. And we constantly run courses on helping people manage the sheer amount of information coming into their inbox. And there is a myriad of ways that you can do that with Outlook that for the most part people aren't aware of. But one of the nice things they've added in 2010 is the ability to take a conversation, in other words, where I've sent an email to one person or several people, they've emailed me back, and together we've had a conversation of emails that tends to clutter my inbox up. With Office 2010, I can selectively switch on the conversation feature, which, as you can see, will then group my emails under a main heading. By clicking on the arrow next to one of the main headings, this is the most recent email, I can expand that conversation, which will do a couple of things. Not only will it show me the other emails that have come in from other people that make up that conversation, but as you can see, it's fishing out or showing me the emails that I've sent from my sent items. So I can clearly see the entire conversation, and I can go back and see what I've sent, what I've said, who is involved. If I've scheduled meetings, they will be introduced into this as well. I can't do without conversation view now. Once you get used to it, it's very difficult to go back. Coupled with this, there is also a feature within Outlook where you can click a cleanup button, which will go through your mailbox, hunt out all of the emails that make up part of a conversation that aren't unique, and delete them. So if I've had a conversation going backwards and forwards with a particular person, it can go back and delete some of those interim emails that didn't add anything unique to that conversation. So with a single click, I can remove all the clutter from my mailbox. That's the conversation view within emails. Where they spend a lot of time as well in Outlook is looking at how we collaborate with each other. The calendar feature. For many versions now, we've been able to view multiple calendars, view them side by side, add a series of tick boxes to enable us to switch on other people's calendars. The issue is then we get a lot of information on the screen and we get a lot of tick boxes down the left-hand side, and it begins to get counterintuitive. With Office 2007, they added one of my favorite features, which is the overlay mode, where you can lay multiple calendars over one another to create a single calendar view. But in 2010, they've done this. They've created what's called the, where's it gone? Here it is. The schedule view. So So I can tick multiple boxes and I can see on my screen where the availability is in one go. Because those tick boxes down the left-hand side get so busy, I've now also got the ability, as you can see, to create my own groups of calendars. So here I've got a management team group. There it is. I can group them together. I can expand and collapse the group of calendars in one go. And I can tick and switch them all on in one go. So if I were trying to book a meeting with the management team, I can check their availability and the boardroom's availability. And then there's a fantastic little button up on the ribbon bar where I can simply then click New Meeting with All, which means all of the calendars I'm looking at the moment, book a meeting with them all. The slide I missed there was for PowerPoint. As I said before, PowerPoint training doesn't happen very often. People think because PowerPoint's so easy to use and so natural to use that they know how to use it. And what they do is they delete the placeholders on the slides and they add their own custom content. That is immediately increasing hugely the amount of time they're taking to create PowerPoint presentations. It also means that there's no standardization. So what they've done in 2010 is they've allowed individual organizations to create templates that include custom slide layouts. So where you want a very highly specific type of layout for very specific slides, you can create those and push them out as part of the template. And here's a selection of slides that are custom slide layouts that we've been working with some of our clients to use, so that people can choose them from the slide layout panel. It's already set up for them. They can simply add the content. If somebody decides to make some manual changes and effectively create a rogue slide that doesn't fit the others, there's a simple reset button in PowerPoint which will make sure that that layout is exactly back to where it was. And that means that you can then start collaborating. If you're all using the same templates, you can all create multiple presentations. You can bring them all together. They will all look the same. So those are some of the features. I mentioned some of the others, but some great 2010 features: the navigation pane in Word, in Excel, the slices you can add to pivot tables, in Outlook, the new conversation view, and the new collaboration tools within Calendar, the schedule view, and being able to create group calendars. And in PowerPoint, the ability now to create custom slide layouts. So that gives you a flavor, if you like, of some of the brand new stuff that people can do and that people need to know about in order for them to use them. So how can you prepare? Well, as I said before, it is all about what level do you want to get your users to. This for us is a typical upgrade process. If we're helping our clients go through this process of upgrading to Office 2010, this is what we would recommend to them. The best thing to do to start off with is get the people who need to make the decisions, who need to support and train the end users, knowing what Office 2010 can do as early as possible. We run new featured workshops where for 2 days we can get the critical people in the room and we can do a fast track workshop on the best new features of 2010 and the best new features that have been added over the last 15, 16 years. And that gets them thinking about how they're currently using Outlook, Office, and how they can start changing the way they're using Office already in time for the upgrade. For the IT team, then of course you've got to get them up to speed technically, certified courses or tailored courses to get them prepared. Giving them online resources. So now, for example, you can do your certification tracks for Microsoft Online, and we can help you with that if you want to. And get project planning packs together. There's a huge wealth of information you can get from Microsoft, which will help you plan the technical rollout and deployment of Office 2010, as well as to how to get your end users ready. If at that point you realize that actually there are some things that you can do to improve the templates that people are using, to streamline the processes, particularly within individual teams or departments, then that's what you can start doing prior to the rollout. Build in some of the new features into existing templates. Possibly, as some of our clients have done, take the opportunity to redesign some of the templates so that you can start to see the new look and feel of Office 2010 coming through in your documents. But also, of course, you're going to need to test existing files, particularly if they're VBA driven, to make sure that they're going to work correctly with Office 2010. Engage your staff. As early as possible, tell them what's going on. Office 2010 can be something that needs to be marketed. It can be a PR exercise, posters, seminars, lunchtime sessions, so that well in advance people can see what's coming, they can see how much better it is, and you can start waylaying some of the fears that they have through seminars in showing them how much better it is to use, and also to give them some tools or show them what tools will be available for them when they first start using it, particularly the more advanced users who feel as if they're going to be slowed down by the new interface. And again, online resources. Several of our clients have rolled out online referenceware, online courses, so people can learn about Office 2010 and the features before they've even been given it. And then train your staff. A good method here is if you're going to be installing the software department by department, whilst that's going on, take that department or part of that group or team out into a classroom and give them some targeted, specific courses, not only on the products that they're going to use, but ideally then on the streamlined processes and templates that you would like them to use. Run workshops. Allow people to have highly tailored sessions on the specific files and spreadsheets that they use to see how much quicker they can use use those files with the new features. And then support. When they get back to their desk, have they got somebody that they can speak to straight away? Can they be fast-tracked through the help desk process so that on day one, any issues that they have can be dealt with straight away? Do they have access to any consultancy in-house or external, so that if they have realized that pivot tables is the way forward, that, as I found, a team of people who spend 2 days putting together a whole series of client reports could actually be doing it in half an hour? Can they latch on to internal or external resource that can come in, analyze how they're working, and help them streamline that process? Offer them ongoing training so that they can access short, sharp courses or more intense courses or involved courses on the specific topics that they need within the Microsoft Office suite. And again, I go back to online resources. We believe very much now in a computer world that it isn't all about what's called formal training, where people are coming into the classroom. It's about giving people the resources that they want so that they can access it when they need it. So as far as the first steps is concerned, as I say, great way to start is get the project team for Office 2010 and the IT team and your trainers and maybe some people from marketing to think about how Office is being used now, to have somebody show you what the new features of Office 2010 are and some of the better new features that have fallen by the wayside in previous versions so that they can be used more effectively. And for your IT team, as I say, do they have the technical training they need? Do they know how to lock down Office 2010 correctly so that people are using it in the way that you want them to use it? And do they have ad hoc consultancy available to help them with very specific rollouts for your business or organization? Some of the other things to keep in mind. This is a great opportunity to reinforce some company policies. Where should people be saving things? How should people be securing their computers? Should they be locking their machines down when they walk away from them? How should they be archiving their information? What are the limits or what are the benefits of using the new system? Are there access databases out there that don't need to be out there anymore because you've got over 1 million rows of available to you in Excel now? Will those spreadsheets that are kicking around, which are run with Visual Basic and macros, can they be rooted out and changed or upgraded? Will your third-party software that integrates within Office work, and will the third-party software vendors support the use of Office 2010 with those pieces of software? And what are your plans for the future with Office? What else can people look forward to once the original rollout has happened? So important to get people on side and keep them informed. They want to know what's going to happen, and they want to know what's coming. So run some seminars and lunchtime promotional sessions. Give them a single point of reference. Point them to an intranet page where they can download guides, they can access online courses, they can read Q&As about the project, they can access tools that will help them with the new interface itself. Offer clear guidance as to how you want them to be using Office, what file formats they should be saving files into, where they should be saving their work, etc., as well as any specific templates, ribbon bars that you've created for them to use. And then make sure that they're aware where to go for support and where to go for ongoing learning. As I said before, the idea of the formal and informal training, where you can get people in a room for classroom courses or workshops or webinars, or they can go online and sit for 2-3 hours and follow specific e-learning tracks. But don't forget about the informal. Allow people to pick and choose when and where they want to access information themselves, whether they want to read an online book, whether they'd like to get access online to some mentoring as and when it's needed. Run some clinics. They know that somebody who knows Office is going to be in the office on a particular day so that they can drop in and ask any specific questions. It's not all about formal training sessions, but giving people various options so that they can pick and choose how the upgrade is going to affect them and what services and options they might want to choose. The services element is then sort of outside of the learning element, and this is coming back to this idea of getting people on the floor, walking when the upgrade happens, refreshing those templates, and accessing, if necessary, some internal or external pre-migration consultancy to make sure that you are on track for using Office 2010 as you could be. So what happens after the upgrade? Well, quite a lot of our clients, even when they do give themselves time to look at templates, look at streamlining process, etc., they don't get the chance to do that before the upgrade itself. So that is a process that can carry on. You can re-engage your end users once you've given them the software. You can bring them in, run training needs analysis, analyze their work processes, and help push through new ways of working with Office 2010. Give them the support and guidance that they need moving forward. Offer them hands-on training, ideally targeted and specific to what they do, as opposed to more generic sheep dip approach of training courses. Give them the online resources, but also encourage champions or super users within the business or organization, maybe some online forums and groups where people can share information about the things that they're finding within Office and beyond. Beyond the standard stuff, what else is there? Well, of course, we've got Project, we've got Visio, we've got Publisher, we've got a large suite of programs, and again, we need to be looking and thinking about those people who use the more unusual elements of Microsoft Office 2010. But you also have Microsoft OneNote. We're taking the opportunity with our clients to showcase that, to give end users the understanding as to what OneNote is so that they can explore it themselves. And it's something that's improving immensely popular, particularly in collaborative environments, project groups, etc. Something that a lot of businesses are getting very excited about under the heading of business intelligence, how you're storing information and how you're slicing and dicing and analyzing your information, is the Microsoft Power Pivot. It's a free add-in with Microsoft Office 2010, and it allows you to connect to multiple data sources, multiple databases, and slice and dice and pivot that information. SharePoint 2010. Once many of our clients have upgraded to Office 2010, if they haven't looked at SharePoint, they then look at that. The best way of collaborating and managing information through pretty much the #1 tool there is now, SharePoint 2010. And then we have, outside of that, the ability to save things online, to the cloud, the SkyDrive, the scaled down version of Office 2010 available to everybody through Internet Explorer, so that people can do simple edits to spreadsheets and Office documents without even having Office installed. And Microsoft Link. Again, many of our clients are looking at, usually post the initial migration or upgrade, at the way of communicating effectively within a business. Microsoft Link. And then, of course, up and coming, there's Office 2012. So there we go. That's what I wanted to just talk to you about this afternoon. Fair amount of information, but it was really just my thoughts and my experiences on how we've seen and we've helped organizations go through the process. What's going to happen and how it's going to affect the end users and what they expect from us in supporting and training them. How you can best prepare and to help you decide whether you want to just minimize productivity loss right the way through to completely smashing your existing productivity by massively streamlining the way you work with Office. I wanted to just take the opportunity to show you some of the best new features of Microsoft Office 2010, talk to you about how to communicate with your staff so that by the time the upgrade happens, they want it. I'm yet to meet anybody who prefers the interface in 2003, and yet I've met a lot of people who aren't convinced by the new interface because nobody's explained to them how it's better and how to use it effectively. And then talk about beyond the upgrade, once it's installed and people are using it and happy with it, where you can then take this suite. Well, thank you, everybody. I do invite questions to my email address if you've got any questions. If you want any help or advice from me, by all means email me. The email came through from that email from Barry Coombs. My email address was in there as well, but there it is, james.t@computerworld.co.uk. I'm the training director here. Or, of course, talk to your account manager if you are already with us and one of our clients. This webinar has been recorded, so I'm going to make that available to you as soon as I've sorted that out. I'll push that out to you so that you can access it whenever you want to. And by all means, share it with others if you like. Thank you very much, and